Hey everybody and welcome back. This is Dash Rendar and today we are going full bow training 101. Excitedly, I've had quite a few people ask about traditional archery, getting started and everything like that. So I just want to take this opportunity to basically give a crash course of how I do it, the steps of getting into it, starting weight, draw weight, taking care of your bow, everything like that. And then going on from there, aiming, shooting, and all that fun stuff. I'm going to channel my inner halt. We're going to train you guys today. And if you get that reference, you are now one of my best friends. The first thing is going to be to choose your bow. Now, my passion is heavy bows, and that's mainly because historically I've always wanted to see if I could match what the English warbow archers at the time did, up to 150, maybe 200 pounds. I'm not there yet, but that was kind of the pursuit of it, just the archery, but also the challenge to see if I could match what they did. Now, wooden bows are not meant to be left strung. They'll break down over time. So the first thing you're going to need to do is string it. So these have a secondary knock in it right at the top here. That's for your stringer. So to use a stringer, you're going to slip it in that top knock right there, and then the bottom one here. What you're going to do when you get it at that point, you're going to step on the string and you're going to lift it up and you're going to slide that into place and lock it in. You want to make sure right in here you have ample distance so you don't hit that arm when it comes forward, because if it's too close, you're gonna smack your forearm every time. But like I said, my passion is heavy bows. This is the lightest one I have currently. It's 110 at 28 and 130 at 32. For a starter, if you're a strongish person, you've done it before, 40 pounds is still a good, strong pull. A lot of people are gonna have a hard time with that if you haven't trained with it. So I would suggest starting no more than 40 pounds to get going. If you're younger, probably 20 or 25. Like I said before, a great place to get them is Faribault. They're a really good site. They have a little bit of a longer waiting list, but a place to kind of check out and spec out what you're gonna have to save in order to get a bow. You do that, and before you shoot, if you are a guy like me with long hair or a girl, I highly recommend you pull your hair back, because the last thing you want to do is scalp yourself when you are shooting a bow.
Oh, wow! I hate you! I hate you! Stop smiling, you jerk!
Because that's a very real possibility that can happen. So get that hair nice and tight. Now for finger placement and arrow placement, when I draw and I loose, I use one above, two below. So one finger's above, two below. I prefer to have it on the inside of the bow. When you're doing speed shooting, the outside makes more sense. But when you're doing heavy bows, and a lot of the historical drawings and like people like Joe Gibbs, they have it on the inside here, and I feel like it gives a better base for the arrow when you're pulling it back. And then you're gonna get that in there, and again, just up and loose. So one above, two below, inside for me. So after that, you want draw style and anchor point. Now, I shoot a more traditional style, which means I tend to poke it up a little bit. That's a big no-no if you go to a lot of ranges, especially if you're starting out. They do not want you to what's called sky draw, which is where you're coming up and then down. However, in order to use these heavy bows, you need to activate the entirety of your back. So that's the type that I use. More traditional styles, you know, with the modern bows, they're generally gonna come up and back, but it's really hard to get a proper draw that way. So for me, I'm inside. I wanna make sure I decompress my shoulder so it doesn't press into itself a little bit. I get in here, and then I'm gonna basically try to open up my entire back and lean into the bow and try to pinch those shoulder blades together. Thing we're going to work on is called anchor point. So the anchor point is where you draw to. That's where you settle in at. So a lot of the modern type bows, they're going to anchor right around to the cheek or so. With the warbow, you want to be behind the ear because you want to try and get that full 32 inches. So this is about a 34-inch arrow. And so from here, I'm going to come up and I want to bring it back basically to behind the ear. That's going to be my anchor point. So you really want to make sure you're getting that full draw to give all the power the bow has. And that's gonna have it come off much faster and much harder. If you're a short draw, let's say, you know, I'm shooting a 130-pound bow, but if I just do this, that's still just like, you know, maybe a 70 or 80 pound bow. So it's gonna be really important that the bow that you get, you're gonna be able to find that anchor point and you're gonna be able to consistently draw there in order to get that full amount of power. So next up we have aiming. Now with a traditional bow, you're not gonna aim in the normal sense because you're drawing and your anchor point is so deep, you don't really actually close one eye or aim. All you're really gonna do is you're gonna put the arrow on and you're gonna keep both eyes open and look at the target. And then once you feel like you're at that target, you're gonna release. And that's just something, it's called instinct shooting. That takes a long time to get figured out, especially from varying distances, you know, 20, 40 yards. It's gonna vary a lot. And the English bows tend to drop off quite a bit also. So it makes it quite a bit harder to get that locked in. But again, it's just practice, practice, practice. Let's say you want to start increasing your draw weight. This here's 155. Now I've had it for a bit and I've shot quite a bit, so most likely it's not that heavy anymore, but it's still a jump up quite a bit from the other one. The best exercise for shooting bow is shooting a bow. It's just repetition. It's such a unique movement, and the form and the way the body moves is so specific that unless you're really training with that daily, you're not gonna get stronger. There's not like a gym exercise I could recommend that's gonna make the huge difference aside from just putting in time with the bow. So just more repetitions with the weight you currently have, then get a little bit of a heavier one and put in reps with that. Even if it's not a full draw, you're still working those muscles to try to get stronger. So usually the first few shots, especially when I go up from like the 130 to the 150, they're not probably gonna be a full draw because you're still warming up. It's like any muscle grouping, like let's say bench press, you don't start off with your max number right away, you build up to it. So when you go up slowly and you get to that higher weight, it takes a few shots in there to make sure you're getting that full draw, especially if it's a higher end bow or a higher draw weight bow. Now the other thing I'm probably sure you noticed is that there's not a lot of time between when I draw and then when I release. And the reason is that your body's under such an immense amount of stress. Basically, once you're back all the way, you don't have much time to aim. Now with the 130, I can hold it back there for a little bit. And then the 155, I can kind of do it a bit too. But when I start getting up to those higher numbers, the 165, I really don't have that capacity. It's basically brought back down and then instant release. So you really have to have your target lined up before you even take that shot or loose the arrow. Now when it comes to arrows, the vast majority I tend to make myself. The tips I get from Cult of Athena. They're pretty good and they're super heavy duty. The fletching I get from 3 Rivers Archery. And then I just build them myself. The wood, you want choice dowels. The grain, you want it to be nice and straight. You don't want a 45-degree angle, and you want to make sure that they're going to hold up to the duress they're going under with heavy bows. Done with it, you want to take that string off so you basically don't wear the bow out prematurely. Same thing in reverse. Step on it, lift up, slide that string off the top, and then you can store it and rest it till the next time. But as with everything, the most important thing is just remember to have fun. It's gonna be frustrating at times. It's gonna be hard, especially if you're trying to climb in weight or get that instinct shooting panned out. But you stick with it, enjoy the quiet, enjoy the solitude, and it's just a great way to escape and just feel like you're going back in time a little bit. Play make-believe, have some fun, and enjoy it. So now, next time you see a suspicious bandit sneaking up on you, you'll be able to give him some pause.